Hi everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you are just landing here for the very first time, do well to subscribe to the channel for more of this hands-on video on JavaScript, right? Today would be showcasing just the traffic lights projects, and this is actually the demonstration. This is how it works. So when you click on start, of course, it starts on green. From green, it gets to yellow. Then after that, red goes back to green, just like a traffic light. So if you stop, it actually stops. You can start. Then if you click on start, if you repeatedly click on start, it will not have any effect, right? Yeah, I think the point in time you click stop, it actually stops. So this is what we want to do. So let's get started. So we actually have our VS Code here open. We have a project and we have app.js file, which is empty. So you can see we have an index.html file, which is equally empty. So we just get started. Yeah, so HTML5 is actually the shortcut that's going to bring out our HTML document. So we can say here, traffic lights. All right. So we also need CSS, right? So let's do this to say styles.css. Within our HTML, let's link up our styles, link. Then we have href, yeah. That's dot slash styles.css, and we have rel, and that's style sheets. Okay, so then let's link our JavaScript to say script. Then within scripts, we are going to have an src to say dot slash app.js, right? So let's get started. Let's have a div. Within this div, we want to create, 3 more divs. So we can do div times 3, right? So we can say div times 3. It's going to give us 3 divs, and we can give them IDs to say ID of first one green, give the second one an ID of yellow, right? So give the third one an ID of red. Yeah, so here we can give it an ID of maybe we can say color container. Then we are going to have the start and the stop button. So let's have a div for them. So there we are going to have 2 buttons, right? So we're going to have 2 buttons. First is going to be start. Second is going to be stop. So ID of start or start btn, yeah. So here we have an ID of stop btn. So essentially, okay, so let's run this in our live server, waiting for it to open up. Yeah, so this is what we have for now. In our start button, let's actually have the start text. In our stop button, let's actually have the stop. Okay, so we have start, stop, and we have those other divs with colors. So what we want to do is we want to give the body a background, just like we had in the original. Let me see. Want to give the body a background, then want to bring in these divs. Okay, so let's go. So let's go to the body. Our styles.css. Let's style our body. So, but first, let's style our universal selector to say box sizing should be border box. We want padding to be 0. We are just resetting all the default styles that our browser would give to our web page. So body, let's give it a background color of let's see the original. So original has, let me check the exact background color of the original. So let's see body. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so it has background color of RGB 464673. Okay, so RGB 46 46 46 73, right? Okay, so we have that, should have that, yeah. So we have that background color, and next is, let me see. So let's have our divs and give them border, right? So let's see, we have ID of green, yellow, and red. So let's go to our styles of CSS to say ash, green, ash, yellow. So we are combining them because we want to give same styling to 3 of them. So ash green, ash yellow, and ash red. So what we want to do is to give it width, give them a width to say maybe 100 pixels. Then we give a height of say 100 pixels. Then we give border, yeah, so that we can see. So at this point, for border, we have to give individually, right? So, but we want the width and the height of all of them to be 100 pixels, and we want border radius is just what gives it that round shape. Border radius, we want that border radius to be 50%, right? 50% of its dimensions. So at this point, we will not still see anything. This is what we are working on, right? You actually can't see anything at this point because we've not given the divs a border. So let's style them individually to give them specific styling. So for the green, we want the border to be, say, 2 pixels, solid green. Green, yeah. Then for the yellow, so yellow, we want the border to be 2 pixels, solid yellow. Yeah. Then for the red, that's ash red. We want the border to be 2 pixels, solid, 2 pixels, solid red, right? So here we can see something, right? So we can see the 3 traffic lights. So what we want to do is to bring them to the center. All right, so let's go to the div, the container. Okay, so we have color container. So we can take that, go here to, okay, so what we want to first do before that, let's have a central div that contains both the round divs and the start and stop button. Let's do that first. So here we have these and we have these. Let me control save to format. So what we want to do is to have a div to house the 2 sets of divs. So this first set of div is the one that has the green, yellow, and red. We are going to put it here and save so that I can format. Okay, so let's take this out. Okay, so control save, format. Yeah, so we bring in the second one, which is for the buttons. Control X, Control V. Okay, so let's take out this, Control S. Right, so this is how the two divs actually look like within this parent div, right? So these are all children. All right, so this parents div, we'll give it an ID to just say, maybe we can just give an ID of parents, right? So let's, or parent container. All right, so let's take this, go to our stars.css. That's an hash, that's an ID, so we use an hash for it. And okay, so let's see. Okay, we want to take it to the absolute center. So let's see. Let's do something like let's give it a width, yeah. So let's give it or height, right? So let's say height 100 view height. We want to take it, we want it to take the full height of our document. So 100 view height, that's for the viewport. Yeah, so what next do we want to do? Display, want it to display flex. So display flex is going to put it side by side. That's what I want. Yeah, left and right. So I want to bring it to the middle. So what do? I have to just justify content to say center. Let's see. And align items to say center. So let's see how that goes. All right. So that brings it to the absolute center here. So what else we want to do is we want to give some margin between these two. Okay, so let's for the three divs, right? The three rounded balls, let's give some space. Okay, so let's see. Let's give some space. That's for the color container. So we just pick color container. That's the container holding those three boxes. So we just come here. That's a div. That's an ID. So that'll be hash, Control V. Then from there we so let me see. Let me just get a background color to see. Um, okay, so this is actually how it looks like at the moment. So I can increase the height, right? I can just say height should be maybe 800 pixels somehow. Okay, so I can just make it like maybe 500. Yeah, 500 pixels. Okay, something like this. Then yeah, so I can now justify, I can align items to say, okay, so I think yeah, so I can actually align items, yeah. Align items to be center so that it will align center from top to bottom, and justify content would be space. I can actually give space around. Let's see. Um, okay, so let's see. Let's give it some width. So width, maybe 400 pixels. Let's see. Okay, so I want to bring it to the absolute center of this div. Okay, so let's see. So we have a background color, we have height, we have width. Okay, so we just need to make it display flex, yeah. So display flex, yeah. Okay, so it takes it from remember flex gives stretches it from far left to far right. So but let's change the flex direction to flex direction to say column. Yeah. All right. So at this point, maybe we can increase the boxes to say instead of 100 pixels, maybe like 150 pixels each, 150. Yeah, that's for the height. Okay. All right. Then for the height, right? Instead of 500 pixels, we can, think we can make it to inherit, right? Yeah. So it will just inherit what is in the parent. So yeah, so with this, I can take out the background color, blue. I just use that to find out the dimension. All right, so I have this start and stop button here. Let me try to style it. So we can just style button. Since we just have two buttons, right, in our project, so we can just directly style button and say, just give it some padding to say maybe 20 pixels. So give it some, increase the font size to say maybe 24 pixels. Then we could also play around with border radius, yeah. Just give it some rounded corners to say maybe 20 pixels. Let's see. All right, so you actually have a start and stop button. So what we want to do is to, make the stop button to actually come down. So let's get to the container that holds the button. That's the button container, which is this div. So what we can do is to give it an ID to call it BTN container, right? Okay, so BTN container. Let's go and style it. So that'll be an hash, Control V. So what we want to do is we want it to display flex. Yeah, so let's use display flex. Then we have flex direction to say column. Okay, so we'll have that stacked top to bottom. So let me just give you some background color so that I would see the extent, maybe blue or any other background color. I just want to see the extent of the container. All right, so this is what it looks like. So what I can do is, yeah. So let me give the button some margin, yeah, so that there'll be space around it. Margin maybe 20 pixels. Okay, so I think that looks great. So I can now take out the background color, right? Take that out. All right. So next I want to do is for the buttons, let me give a cursor of pointer so that when I mouse over or put my mouse over the buttons, I'm going to see a pointer effect. As you can see here, right? Pointer changes to pointer. Okay, so what I want to do next is when I hover over, okay, so let me give the background color for starts. Let me give it green, stop, red. Okay, so we can just go directly to where we have green. No, so let's see. So start button, yeah, start BTN, right? So we can go to our CSS to say start BTN hash START BTN. So we can give it a background color of starts. Let's give it green. And let's give stop hash stop BTN. So let's give it background color of red. Stop. Okay. So we have that. So we want to just create some hover effects. Yeah. So let's create some hover effect. So hash start BTN. So let's hover. This is actually a pseudo class of hover. So when we hover over it, we want it to transform, scale, let's have like 1.1 and 1.1 width. It should scale 1.1 its normal width, and it should also scale 1.1 times its normal height. Yeah, so what else do we want to do? We want the color to change to white. So we can say hash FFF. That's the hex color or the hex code for white. So if we hover, yeah, so you can see it transforms, scales, width and heights 1 times 1 times its normal width and height. Then for stop, we can do same for stop. So let's see. So hash stop btn. Okay, so we want to give the active pseudo class. So no, not active now, hover. So when a user hovers over it, what do we want to happen? So we equally want to transform, scale, let's use 1.1, comma 1.1. And so for color, we equally want to make it hash FFF. All right, so that works. So now let's get to the JavaScript so that we can bring in the traffic lights. So let's go there to say this is our app.js. So what do you need? What knowledge do you need? Of course, for this project, of course, you need knowledge of HTML, which we've done. You need CSS. You need JavaScript. You know, of course, within JavaScript, you need. We are going to use an array, right? So we're going to store some values in an array. Then we are actually going to assess. We are going to assess some elements in the DOM, right? So we assess some elements in the DOM. We use a for loop. We use set interval function. So with the set interval function, we're able to determine within what interval that the traffic light should run. All right. So let's start for our JavaScript. So what we want to do first is to assess the elements. That's the divs that we want to, these boxes, right? The green box bordered box here, the yellow bordered box, and the red bordered box. So we want to target each of these three, right? So let's go to our HTML. So this is the div. Okay, this is the div on line 12. So it has an ID of green, ID of second one, ID of yellow, third one is ID of red. So let's go green, yellow, red. All right, so let's store them in variables. So we can say const green equals to document. So this is us trying to assess that property, that element. So we are querying selector hash green. So essentially what that will do, let me just console.log green. Right, so you actually get to see what that does. So let's inspect. So you'll be able to see the results on the console. So let's get to console. Yeah, so of course you can see div ID equals to green. So when we said console.log console.log green, it actually gave us this element, right? So as you can see. Okay, so let's go. So on our next line, so we can also target the yellow equals to document dot query. We want to query selector, and that will be an hash. Then we'll have yellow, right? So if you console log yellow, you will equally see that it has targeted the second div. So let's go to say const red equals to documents dot query selector, and we want to target the red. So hash, since it's an ID, red. All right. Okay, so we've targeted the three. So the next step we want to do is to so we want to create a variable to hold the interval. So that's what we want to do first. So we can say let's traffic. So we can call it traffic interval, let traffic interval. So next we want to do is we want to create a variable for the current lights. So we are going to have so we can say let current lights equals to 0. We are working with arrays, right? So for arrays, you're actually going to have index. So how do you assess the index? How do you assess elements of an array, right? Is actually by using the index. So if you have something like this, so for example, you have something like const, maybe fruits equals to maybe mango, maybe orange, right? So you have this array. So how do you target mango? It's actually fruits at index 0 will target mango. Then fruits at index 1 will target orange. So if you have more elements, maybe so banana. So fruits at index 2, that's 0, 1, 2, we actually target banana. So let's console.log that just so that you would see console.log. So fruits, let's say fruits at index. So let's say orange. So we have 0 and 1. So that's index 1. Sorry, 1. So if we check our console, you're going to see orange. So let's check. Of course, you can see here orange, right? You can see orange. So what we can do, let me see if I can change my dock position, bring it down. Does it look nice? No. So let's leave it where it was before. Okay, great. So you see orange here, right? So we actually use indices or index starting from 0 to go through an array to assess members, individual members of an array. So that's why we said we want to use an array to store the colors. So that's why we have current lights, because from current light, we'll be able to move through the array and update the current lights and just move from one color to the other. So let's have this. Let's create a function to say start traffic lights, or start traffic lights. So this is a function, right? So what are we going to do within this function? So what we want to do is first, we have 3 colors, right? So we have red. So first we want to store, instead of creating 3 variables to say maybe const green equals to green, or maybe const green color equals to green, const yellow color equals to this, we just want to store them in an array. So store the traffic colors in an array. Okay, so consts. So we can say const colors equals to an array of first color is green, right? Second color is yellow, and they are all strings, right? Third color is red. So first we do that. Then after that, we also want to store the traffic elements, or the traffic lights. You can say traffic light elements in an array too. So that we'll be going through them. As we are going through the colors, as the colors are changing, we equally want the boxes to be changing, right? So that's what we want to do. So we can say const, maybe traffic lights, right, equals to, we will also have an array. Then we are now going to bring in this green, yellow, and red. We'll bring them to an array so that we'll be able to control the behavior and we'll have more efficient code, right? So let's say green, Second is yellow. Third is red. So we store the traffic light element in an array. So what's the next thing we want to do? We want to reset, right? We want to reset all background colors, or we want to reset all traffic lights. Let's use that word. We want to reset all traffic lights at the very beginning. We want to make sure at every point in time that we start, right? We click the start button, all traffic lights should be reset before we set the current traffic light. So to reset all traffic lights, so what we want to do is we're actually going to go through this traffic lights array, right? So traffic lights dot, that's an array. So we can say dot for each. So we can use for each as an array method to say for each light, right? So for each light, what we just want to do is to set the lights dot um, background color, right? So we want to set it to empty string. So at the very beginning of the running of this function, we want to always reset all traffic light. Then after that, after you reset, you want to set the current light, right? So how do you set the current light? So to set the current light, we are going to say so traffic light index current light. Remember, we have current light here that we had declared, right? And the current light is 0. So this traffic light at index 0, basically. Dots. So we want to say dot style. So traffic light at index 0 is going to give us green. And what is green? Green is this document.query selector hash green. So it's actually this element, right? So just to let you know, so style dot background color. Okay, so sorry. So style dot background color equals to colors, right? So colors, which is equally an array at index current light still. So with this, we are going to set the current light. So next that we want to do is to so we want to increase the current light, increase the value. So next we want to increase the value of the current light so that it will prepare itself to get to the next traffic light. So we want to increase the value. Remember that by default, the value is 0. It has not changed. So if we are going to run this function as many times as possible, it means that the value of this current light needs to constantly change so that it will be able to access these arrays and move them maybe from green to yellow, from yellow to red, and from red back to green. Right. So we are going to increase the value of the current lights. So how do we do that? So we just reassign current lights. Current light equals to, so we say current light plus 1, current light plus 1. So we won't just stop here. We want to say modulo, so we can say modulo, maybe colors, or we can say traffic lights. Let's use traffic lights, but it's the same. They all have the same length. Traffic lights dot length, right? So the length, so let's go through it. So current light, what we are doing on line 42 is that we are reassigning current light, which was initially 0. We are reassigning it to be equal to current light plus 1. So at the first instance of the running of this function, if you put 0 here to say 0 plus 1, that's 1, right? So 1 modulo traffic light dot length. What's the length of traffic light? The length of traffic light is 3. This is the length of an array. It's just equivalent to the number of properties within an array. That's the length. So when you say current light plus 1 modulo traffic light, why are we saying modulo? Because so let's break down this. Let me see. So let me see. So let's comment to just say maybe current light equals to. So when you say current light plus 1, I'm just trying to model what this will be, line 42. So when you say current light plus 1 is going to be, it's like you saying 0 plus 1 modulo traffic light dot length, which is 3, right? So we have 3, 1, 2, and 3. That's what makes it 3. So if you console log this, you will see that you would get 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 modulo 3 is 1. So the modulo sign is actually for remainder, right? Quotient. 1 divided by 3, what remains, right? So what actually remains is still 1. That's the remainder. So let's console log just for the benefit of doubt. Console.log 1 modulo 3, right? So you can see it here at the console. Let's see. Okay, so I've not called the function. That's why you won't see it yet. So if I call this function starts traffic light and I call it, calling is just like invoking it. That's on line 49. So when I invoke it, of course, you can see 1 here, right? So if you change it to 2, let's see 2. 2 modulo 3, you see 2, right? So 3 modulo 3, you see that's 3 divided by 3, 1 time, remainder 0. This is it, 0. So you see that it goes round, right? It goes round. You can always experiment more. So, but let's move. Let's take all of this out. So we increase the value of the current light. That's what essentially this function does. Then when you come here, you are going to say, so const let's see, so let's say const traffic, let's see, so traffic interval, so we can say traffic interval starts. Yeah, so we can say traffic interval starts or something. So we are going to have another function. So here we are going to say if not traffic interval, I'm going to explain. Then traffic interval should now have a value of set interval. Then set interval is going to take it will take some arguments. So what we want to give it is this function of start traffic light. Let's say start traffic lights, and it should do that 2 seconds. So this is 2000 milliseconds. It's actually milliseconds, which is equivalent to 2 seconds. So what we are saying here is that we don't want people to load a lot of intervals. So when people click start, if the traffic light is already running and somebody clicks start, we don't want to load more intervals into the traffic light. We just want that if it is already running and you click start, that's fine, but don't interrupt what is already running since it is currently running. But if it is not running, then starts. Right? So that's the essence of this function when we say if not traffic light, meaning that if the traffic interval is not already running, then starts. But if you click on start and it is already running, then no need, don't do anything. So that's why we use this condition to say if not, because we don't want people to load the intervals plenty of times in the memory of the browser, right? So we have that. Then we are going to have, let's now target the start button and this start button and the stop button so that we can add event listeners to them and, give life to it, right? So essentially, let's go here. So let's say const start, maybe start btn. We can say document.query selector. So we have hash, right? So let's go back and just confirm. So these are button. We have start btn and stop btn. Okay. So we come here to say start btn. Same thing. We say const stop btn equals to document dot query selector hash stop btn. Yeah, so all right. So we have start button and stop button now. So we can come here to say start. So we can say start button dot add an event listener, click. So we want that when a user clicks on start button, what do we want to happen? So when a user clicks on the start button, we want the traffic interval to start. So we can say traffic interval starts, right? Then when a user clicks stop, or before then, let's see if that works. So let's start. So what we've done here, let me explain, is that we said set interval, it should run at every 2 seconds, right? It's supposed to change the colors at every 2 seconds. So let's see. Let's click on start, wait for 2 seconds. Yeah, so it starts from green, goes to yellow, it goes to red. Okay, so what happened? Let's see, something is wrong here. Let's go to lights. Okay, so here, line 38. So we did not clear these colors well. So instead of light.background, it's supposed to be light.style. Yeah, you have the style method or style object before you actually have the background color. So it is at this point that if we reload and we start, wait for 2 seconds, goes to green. After that goes to yellow, then goes to red, goes back to green, goes to yellow. So if we click start, if we keep clicking start, it's not going to load a lot of intervals into the memory because it is already running, so it will not start again. So that's why we have this function on line 51. So after the start button, so here we want to stop, right? So stop button dot add an event listener. So we want that when we click, right? When we click, let's come up with a function, right? So we are just writing the function directly. So we can clear interval and we put the ID of the interval, and that's traffic interval. Something else we want to do is that we want to make traffic interval to be null. Traffic interval, let it return to null, right? So why do we give traffic interval null even after clearing the interval? We make it null because remember that at this line 52, we said if not traffic interval. So if you console log what traffic interval is or what's the negation, this logical not. So it's just like saying that if traffic interval is undefined or null, right, starts the traffic light after every 2 seconds. If it is not undefined or null, that's what this line 52 says. So it means that when we want to stop, we need to say, oh, traffic interval become null. Even after clearing, but become null. So that when we come to line 52 is actually going to work as intended. So even after we've stopped, we still need to reset, more like resetting. You are resetting the traffic interval back to null so that when you start, it's going to check, is traffic interval null or undefined? If we did not reset it to null on this line 61, we are going to have issues on this line 52. So that's why we are resetting the traffic interval to null. So let's see. Let's start. Okay, so let's reload. Let's exit. So let's start. Wait for 2 seconds. It starts first, goes to yellow, goes to red, goes back to green, goes to yellow, goes to red. Then if you stop, it actually stops there. Then if you start, it continues. Yellow, red, green. So if it's, let's stop it at yellow, stop. It stops, right? Then you click start again, start. All right. So that was a simple JavaScript project that required the use of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I hope you enjoyed the class. Please like, comment, subscribe, and equally share this video. Thank you for listening. Bye.